So now we're on page 53, and this is part 2. And we are adding and subtracting identities. So whenever we are adding and subtracting, again, one of our main strategies is going to be changing things to sine and cosine. But we may start to run into some fraction stuff as well, getting common denominators, which I know you guys love. Here's our first one. Secant x plus sine of x equals 1 plus sine x times cosine of x all over cosine of x. So there's our problem. Underline the whole thing. Pick the more complicated side. I think it's pretty obvious which one's the more complicated side. So it's this right hand side. So we're going to put 1 plus sine of x cosine of x all over cosine of x. Now you guys are probably looking at that thinking, what on earth, what am I going to do? Okay, well, it's alright. First of all, look at where you want to go. We want to boil this down so that we have secant plus sine. Basically, we want to take one fraction and turn into two separate chunks. I talked about this in our strategies. So if we go back to our strategies, it's actually using strategy 5. Sometimes it's necessary to break apart fractions. We look back at this. We have a big fraction. We want to break it apart so that we can have two pieces. So let's do that. Anytime you have two numerators over one denominator and there's addition or subtraction in between, you can break it apart. We did this in Algebra 2 a few times, and we can do it here. So now it's going to become 1 over cosine of x plus sine of x cosine of x all over cosine of x. And this is what I call break apart. It's also called decomposing. Okay, you're decomposing a fraction, you're breaking it down. They mean the same thing. So now we've broken it into two pieces, and some of you are probably, the wheels are probably already turning up there while you're listening to me yak on about decomposing. You can see that cosines are going to cancel here. So let's go ahead and do that. 1 over cosine of x plus sine of x. Cosines canceled completely. And here we're going to put simplify. Remember, I said you could put simplify or cancel, either one. We're almost there. We have the second half of what we're looking for. Now we just need this to turn into secant. Hopefully you guys are thinking, oh, reciprocal identity. If you aren't, that's okay, but that's my hope that you guys are starting to see these patterns yourself. So 1 over cosine is the same as secant. So secant of x plus sine of x. Over here for a reason, we say reciprocal. Please notice how all of my equal signs are lined up, nice and pretty. And then at the end, I put my little box to show that my proof is finished. Alright, so that was an addition. Let's go ahead and do one more together. And then I'm going to give you guys some practice problems to do in your warm-ups. So, example. Go ahead and we're going to go ahead and do cotangent of x plus secant of x equals cosine squared x plus sine x all over sine of x times cosine of x. Underline the problem. Pick the more complicated side. Again, this one's pretty obvious. Sometimes it's tricky. Sometimes you can't tell which side to start with. But in some of these, it's also very easy. So I'm going to go ahead and write cosine squared of x plus sine of x all over sine of x times cosine of x. So if we follow the same pattern that we did earlier, you can see that we've got a big fraction equal to 2 chunks. So we can tell we're going to want to decompose here. Some of you might be tempted to try to cancel these sines and these cosines. That doesn't work. Okay, here's why. Because that would be like, little side note over here, that would be like saying 1 plus 2 over 2 is equal to 1. No, you can't do that. That's not true. We all know 1 plus 2 over 2 is 3/2. 1.5. So you cannot break up this married couple. Okay? You can't do it. You have to decompose the fraction first, and then you can cancel. So we're going to break this into 2 pieces. So the first numerator over the whole denominator plus the second numerator over the whole denominator. Now we can cancel. Now the numerators aren't married to anybody. Okay, so we can cancel them all we want. And in fact, I'm going to cancel 2 things at once. All right, because otherwise we're going to have like a million steps, and we probably don't have room for that. But you can see here that we have a cosine squared on top, a cosine on bottom. So let's cancel this one with one of the ones on top. And let's cancel this sine and this sine. So now rewrite what we have left. We have cosine x over sine x plus 1 over cosine x. And here we're going to put simplify. Okay, now some of you are probably like going 90 miles an hour and you're like, oh yeah, I'm getting this. Some of you are not. Okay, but those of you who are like, yeah, I got this, it's very possible that you could look at this and go, oh, well, you're going to break it apart and you're going to cancel, and then this is going to flip and this is going to turn to this, and that's not a proof. You have to show me step by step your reasoning and your work. So you can't just say, well, now I know that this is going to be cotangent and that's going to be secant. I need to see step by step and the reasoning behind it. Okay, so first I'm going to change this guy, cosine over sine, into cotangent, because quotient identity, and that's what we're looking for. So you've got cotangent of x plus 1 over cosine of x, and there we use the quotient identity. Last step, we want a secant, we have a 1 over cosine. How convenient that there's a reciprocal identity which tells us that this is equal to secant. So now we've got cotangent of x plus secant of x, and that's because of the reciprocal identity, reciprocal, and to end our proof, little box filled in. And voila, we're done. Okay, so now let's do some practice problems. I want you guys to do these in your warm-ups, and I'm going to write them on a little post-it for y'all. Okay, here we go. So your warm-up from the first section is going to be prove that cosecant of x over cotangent of x is equal to secant of x. So that's your first proof I want you to do in your warm-up. And then the second proof I want you to do in your warm-up is secant x minus tangent x is equal to 1 minus sine x cosine x all over cosine x. And yes, that's all supposed to be on one line, but I'm on a post-it note. So cut me some slack. All right, so anyways, those are your 2 practice problems. Good luck. Make sure that you include your reasoning, you do proper notation, and if you think of alternative ways to do things, then share those. All right, good luck.